Like every step I take up, trouble comes along with the bread I bake up. But you ain't doing nothing if you don't pay the haters. So welcome you to do what's in your nature. Like a jet airplane. All right. Welcome all to Sip and Talk. I am your host, Miss Londa. These are my beautiful co-hosts, Queen T and Pilly today. We are speaking about our thoughts on the topic, can our elders be bullies? Tune in. It's a show you don't want to miss. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit that bell for notifications when we are live. So we are going to go jump right in. Let's get started. All right, ladies. What are your thoughts and feelings on our elders? Mine's personally, yes, our elders can be bullies and manipulative when they want things to go how they want things to go. So, what are you guys' thoughts on that?
I would have to I would have to agree with you, sis. Like they like to make us feel because they're our elders that everything they say is 100% correct. Everything they do because they're older is correct. So then they like to force their beliefs, their religions, their superstitions on you. And if you don't obey by it, a lot of times, even as a kid, they'll abuse you, whether
Yes.
it's mentally or physically. To
Yes.
me, that's a form of being bullied.
Yes. And I have to agree with you on that, Queen. Also, I feel like a lot of times when our parents want us to do something their way or want um us to be a certain way that they feel is more appropriate, they manipulate their power. That's how.
I 100% agree that parents and can be bullies to their children. I have personal experience with this with my mother. And it's like she doesn't even realize she's doing it, but she'll push what she thinks I should be doing with my life. And apparently she thinks that it's okay for her to do this because she's my mom. Um, but it's not. And it really like pushes me away. And so because I have to protect myself and my peace, but it really makes me worried about her because she's putting so much of her energy into my life when she needs to be putting it into her life. So it's kind of like, it's like, I see you putting yourself in a dangerous situation and I'm not about to put myself in this dangerous situation with you, but I pray that you get yourself together and then we can have a relationship.
I can relate to exactly what you're saying. And I just think that in some cases, like sometimes, parents can give that advice. And I think that you can give that advice, but then that's where you should leave it. Now, is it advice or is it a demand? Because when you give a person advice, you give them the advice with leaving the intention of it's up to you whether you take the advice. But if you walk away feeling like that person didn't take that advice, does that really give you the right to really interfere in their life and try to take over and make it how you want it to be? That's my
Right.
question.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like I had this one situation where I have an older sister. So that's someone that's, older. And she didn't agree with who I was dating. So she would sit here and basically bully me, share things with this person to push the person out my life. But on the flip side now, she's actually in a very toxic situation. So I'm like, hey, you were bullying me because you feel like you're older. To get out of the situation that you said was hurting me, but now you're in a worse situation that I for my opinion.
And you get that a lot. People want to come into your life and tell you how you should, what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing and what you should accept and what you should not accept. But then it's like their life isn't any much better. And in fact, the things that they're telling you that you shouldn't be accepting, they're actually accepting. But in their mind, there's a good reason why they're accepting it. So it's kind of like a double standard.
It's that one saying that we all know about: practice what you preach. If you're going to preach something to the choir and you're going to preach a certain lifestyle or preach that we should go get our education or preach that we should talk to this certain type of person, why don't you lead by example instead of creating a fairy tale that you want, but you know that you're not even capable of doing yourself? And just because you're older doesn't mean that you have wisdom. It just means that you're older.
Exactly. But I mean, you find elders that just feel like because they're your elder, it doesn't matter. Like I've seen some elders down talk. Like they feel like they can talk to you any type of way, down talk you and treat you any type of way, and you're still supposed to give them that utmost respect. I disagree. I mean, I feel like I'm a human. I have feelings. Why can't you respect me? You know what
I definitely agree with what you're saying. Like what for me, I'm automatically going to respect anyone and everyone. It doesn't matter if you're older or younger than me. But if you disrespect me, I'm not going to go on your level, but I'm not going to have respect for you. I'm not going to sit here and talk bad to you because you're talking bad to me, because then what does that say about my character? But you know, whether you're older or not, you need to give respect and love. You need to lead by example. If you want to be treated like a queen or you want to be respected because you're an elder, then act as such. Give me a reason to cherish what you have to say.
Exactly.
Give me a reason to listen to the knowledge that you're saying to me. So then that way I'm like, okay, well, this woman is the elderly. She's respectful. She's loving. She's passionate. She's caring. I actually want to learn from her. Don't just make a demand on me because of your age or your status.
Yes. Or manipulate the situation. Because one thing I can say about kids is, you know, you can tell a child something, and this is what I've learned from raising my own kids, and I've raised 4. And things that I have told them as they grew up and as they're in their adult life, even though I might have thought that they weren't, like they didn't really pay attention to what I had to say, I see some of those traits in them. So you can tell a child something, and just because they don't act on it right then doesn't mean that it's not implanted in the back of their mind. They know what they were taught and where they come from. So I just feel like some adults need to learn that you can give your kids, you can teach them, you can give them the advice, and it's up to them whether they take it. You know what I'm saying? Only thing you can do is pray on it and hope that, you know what I'm saying? Especially like when my kids come to me about issues in their relationships, I listen. I may make a few comments, but if they turn around and leave out the door and decide that they're still going to deal with that person, I don't feel it's my place to intercept or step in. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because at that point it wasn't advice, it was a demand. And I don't think that nobody has that right to try to control you, your decisions, or your life. And a lot of parents tend to overstep those boundaries and feel like they have a right because they're a parent or they're your elder to step in and overpower your life. So I have a few comments. Okay. So Carla says facts. I will. You ain't finna talk to me crazy, girl. You better stop it. And then so Belinda says, I say the parent is understanding, but I think what she's trying to say, when the child is grown and want to talk to you like the child, I am very verbal. Basically what she's saying is, even though you're grown, that doesn't give you the right to talk to me like I'm a child. And I agree with her 100%. But at the same time, I think a lot of parents should realize that when you're in your adult life, you have that right to make your own decisions. You can give me advice, but I don't always have to take your advice. It's up to me to make my own decision. You don't have to agree with it, and it may not be the right or wrong decision, but that is my decision. And I just feel like they need to respect it. Pilly, did you have anything you would like to add?
I just agree with you 100%. Like, parents can give advice if they they can give advice, but I'll say, you know, sometimes, like whether it's your child or your friend or just anyone, sometimes people are talking to you just to get something off of their chest, or they're just talking to you to talk, and they don't really want advice about what they're talking to you about.
They want to vent.
Yeah, they just might want to vent. And so like sometimes people like overstep their boundaries. You could be having like a simple conversation with someone, and like you're not thinking about receiving advice at all, but the person you're speaking to starts to give you advice about what you're talking to them about, and the advice is something that's totally not in your something that you would do or you would want to do. So it's just kind of inappropriate for that person to give you that type of advice. So I mean, I'll be honest, so I do think that before people give advice, they should ask, okay, are you talking to me to vent, or are you talking to me because you need help with this situation and want advice?
And, okay, and I agree with you, but also on the person part that wants to vent, I think that when you want to vent to somebody, you should know who you're venting to and who you're dealing with. You know what I mean? Because you got this person that's outspoken and always wants to put their opinion on something, then maybe that's not if you just want to vent and you don't want any feedback, that's probably not the person to vent to.
Yep.
You feel me? So I'm gonna read a few more comments. So Trinisha says, I feel like you give out the same respect that you want in return. You can't give me input, but don't tell me what to do. Basically, she's saying, I'll accept your input. Like I was saying, I'll accept your input. You know, it's in the back of my mind, but maybe when I walk away, that's not what I want to do right then. You know what I mean? And I don't want you to overstep your boundaries and try to force your input on me. Belinda says, if my child can't talk to me, but talk to me with respect, you will get respect. Don't talk down to me. Trinish always also says, sometimes certain people need to be talked to, but talked to in a certain way. Yes, sometimes people, hello, Stacy, welcome to the discussion. A lot of people don't know how to deliver their advice. Some people can be a little too aggressive, you know, and a little harsh. So sometimes people need to watch how, you know, what advice, not so much as what advice they're giving, but how you're giving that advice, because not everybody can, you know, accept it. Some people are delicate, you know what I mean?
Right. That makes so much sense. And it also goes into play where sometimes we're just talking, you know, we're venting. We don't always want you to judge us or to give us give us advice. Sometimes we just want a listening ear from our elderly because we feel comfortable that what we have to say is going to be safe with them. What we have, and they're going to understand because they have an experience. It's not for you to depict my life and say, well, you should do this or you should. No, just be a listening ear, a loving elderly, someone that we feel comfortable talking to because we feel like you have that solid experience, you know?
Yeah. Because let's be real, a majority of the time, especially us as adults and raising kids, been there, done that. Mm-hmm. So, you know, when you give advice on that level, and you know, I've been there, done that, but I'm going to tell you this, and it's up to you whether you take it or not. You know,
or even like Pilly was saying, just ask. You know, like, hey, I understand you're coming to me, and I appreciate you coming to me, but do you want my honest advice, or do you want me to just comfort you?
Yes.
If you want me to be a listening ear and comfort you, I won't say what my opinion is. But if you want, some advice, then hey, I'm willing to give that to you.
Exactly. Because let's face it, we have all been in certain situations. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's speak from a relation type of deal. Only you know when you're tired.
even if you're venting to someone about it, only you know when you're tired. So when you're giving that person advice, give them that advice under the terms of, and even though I'm giving you this advice, only you know when you're done. Do not judge them. Do not make them feel a certain way. Do not make them feel like they're stupid or whatever because they still choose to deal with this situation, because we're on the outside looking in. We don't know exactly everything that's going on. We only know what we're being told.
Exactly.
And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong.
I agree.
So, anything else, ladies?
Like, how can we take the information that we have, you know, about like overbearing, bullying mothers and turn it into a positive for everyone, or at least for ourselves, or
Well,
everyone?
for me, as me being a mom, I just take it as that's what I don't want to do for my kids. I want to be more so a comfort, and even in my friendships. So because I have this experience with maybe my mother or my grandmother judging me or trying to put their beliefs and practices on me, it made me realize I had to be a better woman, had to be a better mother, had to be a better friend. So now when I have people coming to me, I'm actually listening, and I'm listening to listen. I'm not listening to respond. I'm not listening to project how I feel, because at the end of the day, it's how I feel. It's my opinion. Unless I have facts to say or statistics that I want to pull up, I'm going to take whatever happens to me and I'm going to put it into a positive by making sure I don't make anyone feel the way someone else made me feel.
Exactly. That's beautiful. Yeah. And also when you're dealing with a situation where you have like an overbearing parent, I mean, you can speak your feelings to them, but if they still choose not to respect it, then at some point, I know in a lot of cases it can be hard to do, but you have to kind of cut it off. You know what I mean? You know, sometimes if that negative energy is in your life and it can be overbearing, you got to cut it off. I know we all don't, you know, when it comes to a mother or a child or a grandmother, it's hard to do, but for your own your own self and stressful, you know, if you don't want to be stressed out about it, or you know what I mean, feeling angry all the time, you have to cut it out. You have to cut it out at some point.
I feel like we have to heal and accept if we don't have a supporting mom, or accept if we don't have a supporting father, and figure out how to heal while dealing with it. And then once we figure out how to heal, those things are not going to trigger us anymore. So instead of like 100% cutting it off, like just cut off how much exposure they're having and influence that they're having in your life, and learn to talk to them from a distance, check on them. How are you doing? You know, all that stuff. Because a lot of times let's just face it, we're human. It gets hard to cut it off 100%. And if you cut something off and you're not healed, what happens when you reach out to them? It's the same thing. It's the boom. So you have to learn, this is what it is. I love her. I healed from this. I love him. I healed from this. So now I know how I'm going to deal with this going forward. Okay. And I'm going to put this amount of energy in it and this amount of time while I'm dealing with it. So that way we don't keep coming to these things where I'm offended because you said something to me, or you're bullying me, or I feel like you're suffocating me with stuff that I don't even want.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly. Well put. So I'm going to read another comment. When they ask for advice and I give advice, then get lower rated, then I don't want to talk, and then I listen, and it all comes down to it. Then grown, I leave it alone. And then I have another comment from Stacy. Exactly. We're adults, parents and grandparents. Sometimes we have it out with our adult children, and I don't want to be talked down or talked to as if you're disciplining me like a child from another adult. Belinda also says, I always wanted to listen to them. I think she's trying to say and hear them out, but don't get respect. Novilla Tendo, she says, much appreciated. So yeah, basically what it boils down to is, uh, I think it's I don't know the word, but I'm gonna just use the word trend. A cycle. This is a cycle that has to be broken. A lot of people get into that mode of, they think that they're disrespecting their elders, and a lot of times elders try to make you feel like you're disrespecting them if you stand up and speak for yourself. I disagree. Because if I am talking to you and I'm not being disrespectful to you, and I come to you and I tell you I don't disagree with what you're saying, or I don't want to do this way, I want to do it that way, I'm not disrespecting you. It's not disrespectful for me to do something the way you feel I should do it, and I choose to do it how I want to do it.
I agree with you, and I feel that's the problem with our generation, and even the older generation before this generation. We were taught as kids to be silenced. If we express, hey, mommy, I don't like these peas because it's making me sick. Maybe I'm allergic to it. Or, hey, I don't like this person here because this person is making me feel uncomfortable. As us being children, we have these instincts, that we were born with. That's why when you're a baby, if someone comes near you, you don't feel comfortable with them because we can sense their energy, right? So if parents learn to respect or hear us, what we have to say as children, then I feel like we would have that segue to have those cycles of that trauma, the cycles of us feeling, isolated or violated or unheard will be broken. But those cycles keep being repeated because we're on a hierarchy like, oh, I'm older than you, I know better. Or I've been there and I've done that, I know better. But once we break those cycles and those chains and we realize kids matter, kids are smart, teenagers matter, teenagers are smart, we all have something valuable to contribute. We all have something valuable to state. Yes, we may not be at your age, but we're all going to get there. Some of us were born with wisdom already.
Yes.
Some of us were born with, geniuses. Once we sit back and allow other people to shine and allow other people to teach us, then we can really connect and come together. There's some things my daughter teaches me. And I'm like, okay, you got it, little princess.
Right.
And not always wanting to have control. The problem is people always want that control. You still have control. You're the mother. You will always have a certain pedigree because you brought us into this world. No one can take that away from you. But you can still allow someone else to talk or have an opinion and have some dialogue.
Make a decision of their own.
Exactly.
You don't always have to agree with it, but in most cases, that's just, it is what it is. Because when you do that, then all it does is pushes that person away. And a lot of times, that person ends up closing people out. You know what I mean? And then guess what? You don't know what's going on in their life. And that's not good either. You know what I'm saying? Because what if they're in a situation that's a bad situation, but because when they feel like they can't come to this person because they're going to be judged, or this person is going to overstep and want to just take over, now they don't want to share anything with you.
Exactly.
So Bree says 90% of the elders forget that they were once us kids who are looking to find their own path. And exactly. And that's pretty what we have been saying. We've been there, done that, so we can give that advice and tell them which way to go or how to do it. But at the end of the day, it is their choice. And if they choose not to do it the way we say or tell them, I just feel like we don't have that right to overstep and step in. You know what I mean? Sometimes you got to let a person figure things out on their own and learn from their mistakes.
Yep.
And that's, to me, learning from your mistakes is the best way.
I agree. Because that's wisdom. You experienced it.
Yes.
That you experienced it. Now you have wisdom because you gained something from that. And it makes it so much more beautiful when you learned from it yourself than someone telling you. Yes. Someone could tell you something and you retain it in your mind, but it's going to go out. It's different when you experience it yourself. Just like when we go to school and we have that degree, we experience that. Just like you do on this podcast. This is an experience for you. yes, maybe, someone might say or someone might share, oh yeah, I've done this, but it's different when you have that experience yourself. And then
Is
that wisdom taps into you.
got it. Pilly, do you have anything else you might want to add?
Yes. Like, I don't think that this conversation can be had. Like, you spoke to me about what our conversation was going to be about. And when you spoke to me about it, like, my mind got to going about, how did we all get in this situation as Black Americans, or like as in the Black community. And after we spoke, I looked up the year that slavery ended because I didn't know the year. It was, I think it said 1864 or 1865, around then. So on one hand, that might sound like a long time ago. On the other hand, my great grandfather that I was very close with, before he passed away, we were very close. He was born in 1922, which was about, I did the math, it was about 60 years after slavery ended. So my great grandfather that I had a relationship with, that was alive during my lifetime, there were people alive during his lifetime that he knew, I'm sure, that were born into slavery. Because if he was born 60 years after slavery, there's people that are 70, 80, 90, 100 years old that I'm sure he knows, like his parents and great grandparents were born into slavery. Or probably great grandparents or grandparents. But so, our Black community we've dealt with a lot. It didn't end that long ago. There are people that are still alive today. I'm sure, they're probably in their 90s or above, but they might be like 85 or above. But there are people still alive today that were born during a time where they knew people that were born into slavery, where we were treated really bad. We were taught to treat each other really bad. And so we're still healing from that. That's one thing. And then we had segregation that started in the 1960s in America. And my mother was born in 1964. And so, there was a lot of racism then, with the first people that went to segregated schools, or is that the right thing? Desegregated schools. Like there's just been a lot in the Black community with us not getting what we need, as far as healthy food, a good school system, like learning things that are true in the school system. That doesn't happen very often. I've worked in the school system. Okay. It's just bad, and we're still going through it. And it's just something we need to realize and, I guess let me think of the right word. I don't want to say like feel sorry for, but like have empathy for people that, like our elders that, we don't know what they went through. And they're like running themselves ragged over things that they don't have to run themselves ragged over, like our business. And, if you can have a relationship with a bully, your elder that's a bully, have that relationship. But if you can't, take yourself out of that situation because you're putting yourself in a dangerous situation, and just pray for them. And, we're learning and growing. We don't know everything. And, you all have children. I don't have children yet. I'm sure I'll have children one day. But, our children will probably be in a better position than we are with dealing with these things. Like, we're just setting the path for the next generation to have it better than we did.
So am I understanding that you're pretty much saying that a lot of this could come from what they went through in their lives?
100%. People meet you where they are. People do things. People do what they think is the best thing to do. They act towards you based off of the knowledge they have right now. And so they treat you based off of what they know right now, whether it's right or wrong. They treat you based off of what they've been through, whether it's right or wrong. So when you realize that, you can make the decision as if that person is a good person to be around, whether they're in your family or not.
Okay, got you. But at some point in our lives, like, we can't take that into our relationships or our relationships with our children. Like, at some point, if we need to stop and get help or seek, therapy, I mean, because I just don't think it's fair to inflict that on somebody else, what you've been through in your past.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
How?
No, it's not fair to inflict someone with what you've been through. And so if someone's inflicting you, take yourself out of the situation 100%. And I've done that. I've taken myself out of situations with people in my family, friends that I thought I had. I've taken myself out of plenty of situations. So I 100% agree.
So Bree says some people know how to separate their past pain and fix their future, especially with the kids they're raising.
Yes.
And that's true. Some people do, but a lot of people don't want to seek help because I guess they're afraid of being labeled that they're crazy. You know what I mean? Like, but it's okay to seek help. It's okay to go talk to a therapist. In fact, it helps. I've talked to a therapist before, and it helped me a lot. So some people, though, they look at it like, I'm not crazy, so I'm not gonna go talk to a shrink or whatever,
Right. I definitely get what you guys are saying, especially when Kelly was bringing up about how we basically were brainwashed, years ago, slavery time, what we were being taught in our education. We weren't even taught that we were actually true gods and goddesses, the queens. We were taught that we were just slaves, that we were inventors, but
and hoes.
Black
women have been sexualized for so long, so we can go there too.
Yeah, lo and behold, we were the inventors, right? So they put it in our grandparents and our great grandparents and suppressed them, and they have like a slavery mentality. So like it's up to us and our mothers to change that mentality, because it's kind of hard to get our great grandparents and our grandparents, if they're still with us, to kind of change from that slavery mentality. Like my grandmother is an African American woman, but she would swear she's a white woman or a Puerto Rican woman with, it's just insane how they don't even want to represent who they are as being Black, being like it's a bad thing. But really, it's royal. We have the royal bloodline. We have so much to offer and so much to give. But if the system destroyed our families and broke our homes, it's up to us to change it. It's up to us. And that's why I feel like we are more fortunate, because we have social media. We have so much platforms, even how we're connecting now on Zoom, and we're all over the place, that they didn't have. So there are so many things that we are learning right now through the internet, through Google, through YouTube, that they didn't learn. So they were just like, imagine being in one little, cell, not learning much, and being taught something and not seeking it. And now all this social media, they don't even know how to, these tech gadgets, they don't even know how to operate. Exactly. So it's up to us to take it, to understand that, process it, and change it. And instead of trying to change them, lead by example. We got to lead it. We got to show them how we're treating our kids, or how we're treating our systems, or how we're coming together. And that's the only way they can learn, is by our actions, by us actually practicing what we preach.
Yes.
Something we can do.
Yes. And I think we are the ones that can stand up and break the cycle.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that's what needs to happen here. That So Miss Belinda says that's not true with grandparents or parents. It's sometimes the child because they can't get what they want. So the child gets very verbal, so we get verbal. And that could be true in some cases, but at some point, like when, okay, so to give an example of where I'm coming from on my end, if
Mhm.
you're an adult and you're in your own and you're paying your own rent and bills, whereas you can give me advice on how I run my household, but it is up to me whether I want to take that advice. But I have the right to run my household the way I choose to. You don't have to agree with it, but you it's not okay for you to feel like you have the right to overstep your boundaries and come in and run my household the way that you feel it should be ran, because it's my household at the end of the day, and that's why it's called having your own. So that's where I'm coming from in that aspect on, you know what I'm saying, parents can use their title of being that older person over you or above you. A lot of parents try to abuse that power. And if you fall weak to it, then you're never going to have that freedom or that space in your life because they're not allowing you to have it. And a lot of times when you stand up and try to fight for it, they try to beat you down. Like, and I don't mean physically, but I'm saying verbally, emotionally. That's where I'm coming from in that aspect. I know that there's a lot of kids out here that can be disrespectful, but at the same time, in their adult life, you gotta let them be. Let them make those choices. If they're the right choices, if they're the wrong choices, all you can do is give them advice and hope that sooner or later they come to the conclusion that this is wrong and I need to change. But is it, unless it's like leading to, I feel like unless it's a situation where it's going to lead to their bad health or endanger them, you don't have a right to overstep your boundaries. That's just how I feel. Unless they're still under your roof, then that's a different thing. But when they're on their own and they're doing everything for themselves, I just don't agree.
Yeah.
That's just how I feel about that. Welcome, Jalea. Thank you for tuning in. So yeah, that's my opinion on that. And I get it. A lot of kids are very disrespectful, and a lot of kids can come back and hold grudges and say things and treat their mothers and fathers in a certain type of way because of maybe things they held on to or can't let go, or maybe even just because they're just spoiled and just want things to go their way. But that I wasn't speaking from that aspect. And then so rites of passage says it's a choice and you will, okay, I'm gonna read it the best way I can. It's a choice and you will come you have from free will. The fruit you set out will be the fruit you reap. And Jalea said, of course. And rites of passage, I'm just gonna ask you to elaborate a little bit more, if you may. Because I know, speaking like, a lot of times some parents have that hold that a child wants to break away, but it's hard. You know what I'm saying? Some kids love for their parents is so deep that they feel like they don't want to hurt that parent, they don't want to be disrespectful because that's what they were taught. But at some point that cycle has to be broken because a lot of parents take that and they use that as power. You know what I mean? That's, I'm coming from that aspect. He said it's a choice and you will it. Yeah, from free will. I might have to have him come up on camera. Give me a second. If you have something to say, Queen T or Philly, feel free.
I'm just trying to pull this up on YouTube.
But yeah, I have seen situations where, you know, even just like you can have a elder neighbor and they could be in the wrong, but you don't dare tell them because they're your elder. And I think that is wrong when elders do that to people because you know what I mean? It's like you don't have the right to talk to me that way. You don't have the right to treat me that way and treat me like I'm wrong for speaking up and telling you when you're in the wrong. And I feel like as long as I'm not being disrespectful, if I say, hey, Miss So and so, I respectfully want to tell you that I don't agree with you. And then you just come off all harsh to me like I just did something wrong. That's not okay because now you're abusing your power. You're bullying me. You know what I mean? That's where I'm coming from in that aspect. I'm not coming from a place of saying that I want to be disrespectful and disregard what my elders are trying to tell me. I'm not coming from that angle. Thank you for joining us, Rites of Passage. Is your sound working? Rites of Passage, you're on mute. I don't know if he's got his sound working.
Click the unmute button. It's on the bottom left.
Let me see.
It says Ambe. Ambe.
Okay.
There you go.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. I'm speaking on the free will of man that's given in the Bible or in any other religious text. I'm speaking to the fact of the family going astray. You know, in one sense, she was speaking on slavery, but it was mandated that we not know our religion and we not know our heritage. But now we got free will, and our will is to be anything but what we weren't allowed to be. So it's like it's harder to come out and just be about your God and bring God into your family and expose your kids to God, or if you miss the first wave, try to catch your grandkids, or just the life. But in reality, you got to see that when you see a godless environment and nobody has anything in common anymore in the colony. Remember we were speaking on the other show, we're a colony of people. We move, we're colonized. So that's why they are able to colonize us. You know what I mean? And take our colony from us. So by us not being in sync even in religion anymore, which is one of our stronger fronts that even brought us to civil rights, immunities, marches, whichever cloth was chose, Gandhi, Muhammad, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, anybody that put together the faith of people were able to be in unison and be a colony, were able to overcome. But the second you lose your faith, you in free will. You know what I'm saying? And then you are at the devil's playground because it's an idle mind. There's nothing there anymore. We don't have anything in common. We don't share any rules. We don't share any laws. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. But where I'm speaking from is elders feeling like they can bully you when you don't move the way they feel you should move.
Well, I'm just still speaking in the same stance. I mean, that's a conversation of free will. Once again, it's a choice. You're making a choice to deal with that in the new realm with an elder that's not on your page, but you're not having anything established to rule off of. If they're trying to rule you, what are they ruling you based on? You understand what I'm saying? Or is it a right or wrong situation? Is it the raising that I gave you? You know what I'm saying? Or is it I'm just trying to have my way in these modern times and talking about what we're talking about with no faith basis, with no grounding? You get what I'm saying?
So what I'm saying is, though, it is okay for a parent to give advice. But when a person doesn't take that advice, where the problem is, a problem for me is you don't have the right to step in and try to bully me and make me do it the way you feel I should do it. You should just leave that choice up to me and let me learn from the mistakes that I make, is what I'm saying.
True indeed. And I mean, I'm going through a little couple scenarios, and guess what? All right, that's your choice. I can't deal with you. I can
That's
choose not
fine.
to
But
deal with you.
okay, so what you're saying is when a person is an adult and they go out here and they make choices and because you don't agree with them, you feel like you don't want to deal with that person.
No, I'm saying you're establishing to me that me and you can't agree to the business, so I'm going to agree to disagree with you. You feel
Okay.
me? I'm not going to make it a problem with us. We can't do that together.
But I wasn't just speaking from a business standpoint.
No, I know we know. We're talking about dealing with each other. Why would I take you through the? Why would I allow you to disrespect me and take me through all that? You know
Okay,
what I'm
so
saying? When I
like
could
for
willfully just
instance,
back out.
say we shared a home together, you're my elder and you
Yep.
can live with me, but you don't like maybe the people that come over, you don't like just the way I run my house in general. Is that really your choice? I mean, your advice is welcome. You can come and say, well, I think you need to do this or do that, but if I choose not to, is it really your place to overstep and try to force it to go how you feel it should go?
No, then it's my choice to remove myself if I ain't happy where I'm at.
And that's the standpoint that I'm talking from, because a lot of elders don't do that. They feel like because they're your elder, that is their right to try to step in and make you. And to me, that's bullying.
And look, and another thing about it though, see, I'm just a defenseful person. So now that I know you like that, we ain't inviting you no more. I'm not
And
putting you in that position no more.
that's fine, because once I know a person is that way, I personally don't want to come around anyway.
Yeah, and you let that person create their space. You know what I'm saying? Because that's their space. And I must have I got a little too deep off into your space. And our space should not mix like that. And I
And
gotta learn my lesson on the
you just made the point that I've been trying to make. I really don't feel that it's fair for a person to insert themselves so deep into your space or your life that they're feeling like they have the right to step in and control the moves you make. That was, and you just basically just laid it out for me.
yeah. But you also have to know that they didn't do nothing. So therefore it's a free will. Somehow your free will opened the door. You know what I'm saying? So free will is still the battle. You understand what I'm saying? That's why I came with there from the gate. Your will is what you will to yourself. You know what I'm saying? Your will is what you write off in the end. You know what I'm saying? So carry your will while you alive just as strong as you do when you in the end, and you guaranteeing where you want all your estate. You know what I'm saying? Your estate is your life, your property, your body, your land, your mass. So as you carry yourself throughout these lands, you know what I mean? Maintain your estate, your free will.
You're moving. Your mic is staticking.
Yeah, I was in the winds as I was walking.
Okay.
But I'm saying maintain your estate, your body, your land, and your free will. Continue to will what you want to you and will away from you. Keep your faith intact. You feel me? Yeah. Understand what your trust is. Who do you trust? You know what I'm saying? Do you have your finances in a trust? Do you have your things in order? You know what I'm saying? So the way I'm using those words is that you see that they,
Finances. Do I have my finances in trust?
you know, if you have your finances and your things established in a trust, then why wouldn't you have who you trust the same way? You feel me? So I'm using the words to show you how they go from your life to your finance. You feel me?
I think okay. I think you kind of wandered off from my point. My point is, if I'm an adult and I'm on my own, I'm in my own, I'm doing everything for myself, I'm paying my own bills, my rent, everything, and I'm not asking for anything. I accept your advice. I can do that. I can accept your advice, whereas I don't have to take it. And if I choose not to, my point is, I feel you don't have the right to overstep your boundaries though, and try to make me be or make the choice that you feel that I should make, is my whole point that I'm trying to make. So the trust and all that stuff, I guess I got lost as to where you were going
Yeah,
with.
because you establish trust with somebody to even have them established to know that you will them the space to be in your business. You get what I'm saying? So therefore, when the exchange happened, for them to get in that far, before it happened, they wasn't in. They wasn't there when it started. You get what I'm saying? Something was going on with the people you knew before they came around. You
Okay,
have something.
so okay, knowing me, anybody that knows me, I keep things hush hush because I don't want to hear or want certain people to speak on it. But if you're that person that's sitting back and you're watching and you think this is what you observed and then you still try to step in, I'm coming from that standpoint.
I know. And see, that's the point. Like sometimes you can't control your setting, but before you make your setting, after you go through that, realize now, okay, yeah, ain't nobody sitting around my motherfucker jumping in my wheel. You feel me? It's not your business. So on my kids, the way I deal with them, I'm not gonna be around them until they got a problem and they yelling out dad, or I want to give them a gift and I pop up, or we spending time. Other than that, no, I'm not your friend. I'm not hanging with you. I'm not doing none of that. I'm not coming to visit you. I don't play holiday. They know me, right? So I'm dad. Dad is like this. Dad don't let no me bring dudes home. You get what I'm saying? I establish certain things. So you don't move that boat with me. You feel me?
Okay.
That's where it's at. Like, no coming to Ambe's house. Nobody's coming to Ambe's house. Now it's somewhere you can come where Ambe hang out at. Everybody know where I'm at. Within the area I'm gonna be at. But that's about it. You know what I'm saying? I don't bring a lot of people everywhere no more. You know, when I was younger, I was slower. I brung a lot and I added a lot of people in the situation they had nothing to do with. Now I got all them people out of my business. I ain't letting nobody back in my business. You get it?
So are you talking friend standpoint? Because I'm talking
Mhm.
elder standpoint.
Family, elders, mixing crowds, letting the kids be around the elders in this situation. I'm talking life. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you conduct? You remember how it was when we were shorties? They even have a party. We all locked up in the room. You don't go out there and talk to them adults, you'll get stomped out. You feel
Right.
me?
And I
Them
still agree with that. I feel
them
like
days.
they have
You
their place
wasn't
and the adults have their place.
there was no talking back. Everybody teeth getting knocked out because one person did
Exactly.
something.
But that's when you're a kid.
Yeah, but even when you got older, we didn't still didn't do all that.
And oh, okay. So, and that's my whole point.
It was established when
Elders
we were
see that
young.
and they still run and they run with it and they still try to use that on you in your adult life. When you're an adult, you have the right to speak up. As long as you're not being malicious or disrespectful, I don't see that it's wrong that I say, well, okay, this is my house and this is how I run my house. And if you don't like it, you don't have to be here or whatever. You don't have to come by. You won't have to worry about seeing this. I don't think that's wrong. And I don't feel that it's right to be treated because this is your elder that you said this to be treated like you just disrespected them because you didn't. Because you work hard, you pay your rent, you pay your bills, you're not running to them for anything. So what gives them the right to still feel like they have that control over your life once you're an adult? This is my whole point. And this is where I think the problem is okay, yeah, it was different when I was a kid. Yeah, I couldn't talk back. Yeah, I couldn't speak up and say this and that or whatever, but I'm not a kid anymore. You don't still have the right to have that control over my life is the whole point that I'm trying to make. And I feel like a lot of adults and parents, elders, grandmothers, grandfathers, and all that, they take that and they abuse it and they use it to their personal whatever. That's the whole point that I'm trying to make. That's a cycle that needs to be broken.
Yep.
Well,
Yolanda, I agree with you and what you're saying. And I'll give my personal experience with that. And I'll tell you why I agree with you, but I'll tell you why everyone won't agree with you from my personal experience. So I've had like elders give me bad advice about how I should be living my life. I feel like I've had my mom give me and my brothers and sisters bad advice on things that we should do. She's given some good advice, but some of the advice that she's given was like really uncool. So, like, looking back on the situation, I'll ask my siblings, like, I'll ask them, like, I'll try to talk to them about it. I'll be like, what do you guys think about this advice mom gave us, a while ago? And they're like, nobody wants to talk about it. Everybody's like, don't talk about mom. That's our mom. She carried us for 9 months. Go, go work, go do something else, fuck off or whatever. But like in my heart, and when talking to God and like what I know to be right and wrong, I'm like, knowing that this is bad advice, but I know I'm the only sibling that will say something about it. So, Yolanda, everyone isn't going to agree with what you're saying, even though you're right. Some people are
I
gonna
understand where you're coming from, and a lot of that is, and I'm gonna say this, and it's not to offend anybody, but a lot of siblings, let's say siblings in the situation as what you were just speaking on, they fall weak because they were raised under that. You don't tell your mom, your dad, your elders that they're wrong. But in reality, you are not wrong, and you are not being disrespectful to speak your mind. Everybody has the right to speak their mind. There's a way to do things and there's a way to say things. And if I'm not being disrespectful to you, you don't have the right to treat me like I don't have the right to speak my mind, because I do. So I get where you're coming from. So Belinda says, my son, when he moved out, said, you taught me and I didn't understand. Now I do. He said, you were right. It's hard out here, but I'm doing what I can. And see, that's what I'm saying. Give that child that advice, but let them go out here. If they choose to follow your advice, they do. If they don't, let them figure it out on their own. Don't feel like you need to overstep and step into, let them do them. Unless it's a situation where it's really harming their life, then I understand. But if it's not, let them do them. Stacy also said, I'm glad my daughter has her own place because now she can learn how to grow into her womanhood and have her own space. You live how she wants and raise her child as a grown woman. Belinda said, and let you make your own decision. Stacy also said, yep, true. Even as we're in our 20s, we're told we weren't grown and still couldn't voice our opinions, even when we had our own place in our 20s, even when okay, yeah. And Brianna says freedom of speech. And I agree with all those comments. And yeah, my stance is still the same. I don't feel that we are wrong to stand up to our elders, even though they try to punk us down and make us feel we are in the wrong. And that's the cycle that I want to break because I don't think it's fair. Patricia, you have anything you would like to add?
I agree with you 100%. We should be able to speak as long as we're not being disrespectful. We're not using vulgar language. We should be able to speak and say what we feel and say where we stand.
Mr. Ambe, were you done speaking? I'm sorry if I cut you off.
No, you're good. I see what y'all saying. You know what I mean? I understand that, adults, when you get to that point, you're overbearing in someone else's life. You know what I'm saying? But this is your seed. You know what I'm saying? So you're learning as you're going and you're playing off of a plate you was dealt, and you're trying to enforce a century before you was born onto a kid that's after you, who's gonna take what you did and raise their kids differently because of that and give them more freedom. And as we've seen, as it trickles down to more freedom, it's more dead kids, it's more runaways, it's more this, it's more that. And we can't lose the balance because, once again, on top of her head is the throne to make the king and the next queen available to keep this tradition going. So I see the truth in that, because of overbearing parents and grandparents that have been in their daughters' lives trying to run their households. You know what I'm saying? But as a male, it came different because like I read that marriage, you know what I'm saying? You guys are speaking out of the marriage. She will yell at you and scream at you as her daughter once she was took in the house to be negotiated. You're going to negotiate like this, you're going to negotiate like that. You know what I'm saying? And then make the boy more brutal to deal with the society he's in and be more of a worker than an intelligent Harvard child. You know, everybody say they want the best, but they put their kids on the team. They put them out there in the sports. They don't put them in the science and tech. You know what I'm saying? Everybody want the next Jordan and the next Randy Moss or whoever. You feel me? So when you watch the repeated cycle, and I was a kid that went against the grain, I don't want to be on the team. I didn't want to do none of that stuff. I wanted to be smart. I wanted to be a little businessman. And I don't think it was like, because I wanted to be smart. You understand? I wanted to get out of school early. I wanted to graduate early, and that was against the grain. You want to graduate early, I got to get that check. What's wrong with you? I don't want to do that. I want to be like Booker T. Washington. I done read books. But that wasn't acceptable with my brother. He was more hands on. You get what I'm saying? He was the one wanting to fight every day and all that. I ain't finna do all that, man. Dudes ain't finna be touching me, man. Let's go do this and that. Let's go take this or get something to get some money. So the different aspect brought me to elders in a different way because as a boy, you suck it up to sit around and hear what they gotta say. You know what I'm saying? I went through all the brutal talking, all that, but at the end they can say I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do it. But at the end, they give me their knowledge. You know what I'm saying? And I took their knowledge and I transferred just the knowledge over to my kids without all the riffraff. You feel me? I've been just trying to decipher it because I am the one. I am the go through to the next generation. You know what I'm saying? We are the go through. You know what I'm saying? So it's on us to forgive, figure out how to deal with them, put them in their space, give them that space. If they want to snap out, I didn't bring the kids to witness this stuff. You know what I'm saying? I know how you're going to be in these type situations. You just have to move differently. You know what I'm saying? Invite them into a space, but don't give them the space. You get what I'm saying? If you want to be an adult, then be an adult. Give them their space, just like you do your friends. You don't just let them come in and run you because it's your friend. Well, we're not friends. You're my parent. If you're advising me, cool. But once you overstep that boundary, yeah, I agree. You know what I'm saying? But I just did it differently. You know what I'm saying? I just walked away. I didn't have no say back because I still felt they wanted a certain respect. So I was humble enough to give it. And I want my kids to see that I'm humble so they can become humble. You know what I'm saying? I don't want the tit for tat and it go through my bloodline. So when they get to yelling and screaming, even my daughter, she gets to yelling and screaming. What do you think I do? I just
Well,
sit there.
that's what I do. I shut down. But a lot of times when
No,
you
I don't just shut down. I let them get it off their chest and then I calmly talk to them until they start calmly talking back to me. I'm not finna engage in that. You don't want to engage in that with me. You don't really want to go there. You understand what I'm saying? And then once they get their little sober out of their little rage or emotional state they're in, then we can talk again. And I'm gonna treat them like adults and we're gonna talk. I couldn't do that with my mother. I couldn't do that with my father. I gotta shut up and listen. And most elders that I knew from where I came from. You get what I'm saying? So I gave them a freedom. You get what I'm saying? That was a choice.
I don't think that's tit for tat though.
No, I'm saying I didn't go tit for tat with my life and stretch it and take out of what I went through, the trauma and all that, and inflict it forward. I chose. You feel me? It's a choice. I will what I want. You know what I'm saying? I don't want that. You get what I'm saying? So I don't bring it forward. That stopped where it stopped at with me. I'm moving forward like this. You get what I'm saying? I'm trying to show you this. I'm trying to ground you in this so we can have something to compare life to. You know what I'm saying? I believe in Islam. I'm not forcing that on you. I'm showing you other cups that you can choose from. But I do think you need this in your life so you can have some understanding of other humans that believe in things in interaction so you can find different crowds and ways. But if we didn't get this prior, it's on you to establish it. It's on you to be the witness for them to see that your life changed. And my mama was this, my daddy was this, my uncle was this, and they changed. I seen them change. You know what I'm saying? They seen what I was into and where I can go to. You feel me? Just from the cup I chose to drink from and how I established my life and my principles from this point forward. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's about it.
Okay, so I have another comment from Bree. We have to allow the open door policy with our kids. We can't have them afraid of us because then they turn to the outsiders. It starts at home always. And yeah, that I agree with that. And that's what I was saying earlier when I said when a person tries to take control of a situation and be overbearing, then it drives that person away. So then they're either going to go seek that advice from somebody else who might not even give them the correct advice, or they're just going to shut you out completely. And then guess what? You don't know anything. You don't know what's going on. And they can be in a situation that is very unhealthy. But because of your, the way you come off, they don't want to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? That's the whole point that I'm trying to make here is allow people to feel like they have, even if they're your child and you're their elder or whatever, it is not wrong for that person to be able to speak how they feel without you telling them that they're being disrespectful. That's just to me, that's just a way of manipulating somebody's mind to make them be and do what you want them to do. And that's the whole point I'm trying to get across here. You know, some people can be narcissists. They're just narcissists. They just want things how they want it to be and how they feel. And when they're a narcissist, they're going to do everything in their power to be manipulative and have that control because they don't want to lose that control. And it's unhealthy.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Narcissism. And you know, I'm speaking from that viewpoint of having dealt with narcissism. And I know everyone hasn't experienced that, but that's my experience. So it's really hard. Like, and when you're going through it, you don't realize you're going through it. And it kind of messes, like if you don't, some people never realize they went through narcissism when they were growing up. But if you do realize it, like I did, then you can take steps to build a healthier relationship with yourself, build a healthy relationship with God, and build a healthy relationship with people that you come into contact with, and just build healthy relationships in general. But for people that don't realize that they've dealt with narcissism, usually end up being in a lot of dangerous situations where people are manipulating them and getting over on them, and they end up just like being used and abused all of their life because they had a narcissistic parents that used and abused them. Or they might become a narcissist themselves and use and abuse others. So, you know, it's good to do self-reflection and look at your relationships with people. And, you know, if you need help, get help. The best help I can say to get is to talk to God about it. He talks back to me. I'm sure he talks back to everybody, but he talks back to me. So that's the best help I can tell you to get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Miss Queen, you have anything you would like to add?
I'm just agreeing. I'm sitting here. You see me shaking my head like, yes, 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 Miss Londa, yes, Miss Pilly. It's that you have to dig in deep. You know, there's a lot of challenges in life, especially communication. Communication is a lot, you know, is a barrier, and it causes a lot of problems within our family.
I think communication, period, in our culture
Yep.
is the issue.
It's
Even
a bit
communicating on the simplest things. I feel
right.
like communication is just a big issue with our culture. A lot of us just don't know how to communicate. As
Yep.
simple as saying, oh, okay, so the party starts at 6 tomorrow. And you could just simply say, well, I get off work at 6:30, but instead of you saying that, you just won't communicate that. And then you'll just have me wondering, like, well, wow, where is she? You know, I mean, communication in our culture is just like so just I don't know.
Exactly. And I think that can easily be tied into how we were silenced as kids. So sometimes it's hard for us to communicate without even realizing, because we're so used to, being silenced or not saying, hey, well, I'm not vocal and I don't feel comfortable being vocal and transparent because I'm used to being silenced. No one listens to me anyways. What I have doesn't matter anyways.
Yeah.
So as an adult, we have to check that. We have to say, okay, we are no longer this. We need to communicate. People are not in our heads. People don't always know what we're thinking. So we have to tell them how we feel and what's going on in our lives.
Exactly. Thank you for summing that up.
100%. Like with the whole 6 and 6:30 thing, like that person is, if someone doesn't feel comfortable, like if you invite someone somewhere and it starts at 6 and they get off work at 6:30 and they don't tell you about it, they can be coming from a place where like their parent might have like started a fight with them and yelled at them in their face for not being able to do something at 6 o'clock. And so they're not wanting to go through that trauma again. So they're like, okay, I just won't deal with this situation at all, which is a problem. Like that person has some stuff to work on. And they need to realize that they're an adults and they're in a safe place. And if they're dealing with someone, they need to make sure they're around people that understand, simple things like that, because there are some crazy people out here that you'll come across that won't understand that, and they need to like just stop being around people like that.
All right.
Yeah.
Mr. Ambe, do you have anything else that you would like to add? If you're still there. Okay, so this has this has been the shortest show I have done. So if you guys don't have anything else to add, I am going to go on and end it unless anybody has, anything they would like to add. And I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. Please remember to go on our YouTube channel, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you know when we are going live. Thank you guys for tuning in, and you guys have a good evening. Peace.
Yes, peace. Thank you for having us. Thank you for having us, Miss Londa.
Until next time. Bye.
Peace, ladies.
Peace.
Peace, Ambe. Peace, Patricia. Peace, Miss Londa.